Okay, so like I said, welcome to the Year of the Man Summit, guys, the third year in a row that we are running this. Today, I'm doing my speaker session, and I want this to be a highly participatory session. So if everybody wants to turn their videos on, their mics on, if they're not in a super loud environment, please do not interrupt me when I am talking, but I will ask you to participate at different times. Because today what we're doing is we're doing the mental gym, and we're also going to be talking about things that make men great. And I know yesterday Steve did his on things that men need to win. But I think that there's a lot of mixed messages in the social media world, a lot of different mentors in the social media world about what a man is, what a man's masculinity is, and how he can best succeed in the world. So we're going to do some participation today, and we're going to get amped up. So everybody who's in the room, even if you're not on camera or whatever, I want you to take a look for a second at your body language. How are you sitting, standing? Are you laying down? Maybe some of you are dialing in from California. You don't want to leave your bed. I appreciate you for being here. But you have to take note of what your body is doing in this moment, because I really want you to pay attention and observe. So first, do I have your attention?
Yes.
Yes. Do I have your attention? Yes. Okay. That's exactly what Danelle said yesterday. Get this man's attention. Okay. I don't want you to be focused on other things. Maybe some of you have to work. That's okay. But I want your full focus and attention, because the things that we're going to talk about, I want them to sink into your brain. I want them to sink into your soul. I want you to go out into the world and emanate this energy everywhere that you go today. So take a deep breath. Everybody, we're just going to get into our body for a second. I want you to feel every part of your body and where it's at. Is there tension in your shoulders? Is there tension in your jawbone? Let's try to relax every single muscle in our body. Because when the body is relaxed, trauma cannot exist. And trauma is not just an experience. Trauma is the psychological impact of an experience. And trauma is stored in the body, which is funny because a lot of the times when we try to get over hard times or we try to move forward, we try to solve it logically with the brain. But the brain only controls so much. The rest, the body actually controls. It's a survival mechanism. So in order to take control of your actual direction in life, you also need to take control of your body. Every single speaker yesterday talked about this. You have to be able to control your body. That's not just exercise. That's not just yoga. That's not just doing some physical activity. It is being very conscious with your mind to work with the body. So take another deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And on your exhale, release the tension. Release the tension. Be very aware of where your body is in this moment. And when your body is relaxed, your body can help the mind absorb every single thought, every single behavior, every single observation that it's about to download. When we are in a hard place, when we are trying to move forward and we feel stuck, it means the brain and the body are not in alignment. One of these things is holding on to an old version of ourselves. And I made a video the other day that something people won't tell you is when you are about to be at the peak of your transformation, when you are about to be at the peak of where you want to go, you will feel terrible. You will feel like a failure, a loser, like you're losing control, like you're behind. You start, your outside world starts reflecting every one of these things. Maybe you're losing money, maybe you lose a job or relationship, people start falling away from your life. You're like, oh my God, I literally cannot take any more loss. I literally cannot take. And then what happens is you try to go back to what you once were. But the beautiful part about this, and this is the thing. So once you feel that, a lot of people give up and they go back to what they are used to. But the beautiful part about this is the feeling of loss, the feeling of being out of control is the exact representation of you separating from who you once were to who you are about to become. Because understand that if we have lived our entire lives in one method of being, in one mode of thinking, in one mode of doing, of course it is going to feel like we are failing when we step into our new life, even if it's better for us, because we are no longer living up to the expectations of that old life, of that old form, of that old body. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense. Okay. This is something that for a lot of us. Okay, now I'm going to ask the mics to be muted because that's distracting. When we are transitioning, our old selves is the self that got us to where we are. So it was built entirely off of survival, but we're not here just to survive on this planet. We're here to thrive. When we are thriving, we need to build.
Yeah, the man.
We need to build different mechanisms. So of course, when we're not living up to our old standards, we feel like a failure. So today we have to decide what new standards, what new boundaries, what new core values we actually want to live up to instead of just going on autopilot. Everybody in this room has operated on autopilot. 95% of your life is operated through the subconscious. That means your brain is so efficient, it doesn't have time to think about every single decision. You woke up one day and you decided to brush your teeth one way, and you haven't changed the way you brush your teeth ever since, unless you did one of those weird exercises that said, okay, use your left hand or something. You never think about it. Why would you? That's a waste of space, time, and energy. The only time you think about something is if you have to do something new. But a lot of us have things in our lives that we don't like. We want to make more money. We want to be in better relationships. We wonder why, like, we don't have friendships, or we feel lonely, or we feel sad, or we feel depressed. And then we feel out of control because we think that it's these external factors that are influencing our happiness, when really it's our internal world that is influencing the external factors. Our internal world influences the external factors. Your external world is what has been created by the internal world. So today we have to make some decisions on what kind of external world we want, and we have to change the internal world so that we can reflect that. This is not news to anybody. You hear this everywhere. Mindset is everything. But today in your mental gym, we're going to talk about some things that make men great, that you have to live up to. And if you do these things in your core values, then you will be successful. Because it's the internal world that creates the external world. Are you with me? Raise a hand. Paul, I see you. Titus, I see you. Scott, I see you. Matthew, I see you. Rob, I see you. I'm loving it. Okay, I'm just going to read the chat for a second. Okay. Excellent. So in the chat, can you guys write some things that you feel like men need to do in order to be great men? Like, what makes a great man? What makes a man great? Put it in the chat. What are some core values? We're going to do this on the board in a second. And let me know if you can still hear me when I'm by the whiteboard. Okay, we have leadership, responsibility, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, integrity, clarity, and direction. I'm loving this. Exactly. I'm going to take these headphones out for a second. Can you still hear me now? And actually, I'm going to flip this around because this is not good. Look at how fancy this whiteboard is, guys. Flip it around. What makes a man great? Number one. Forgive my handwriting, please. So the number one thing, responsibility. Somebody already put that in the chat, which I love. If you are not a responsible man, you are not going to live up to anything. And what does responsibility mean? It's not just like, this is where we get responsibility confused. Responsibility is not just about being responsible and like taking care of your bills and paying and making sure everybody else around you is taken care of. Responsibility is also taking responsibility of the place that you are in life. You are not a victim. Like Sabrina said yesterday, there is nothing wrong with any of you. We started off with the mental gym. This is your mental gym. You go to a gym. I'm sure a lot of you have gym memberships. You go to a gym, but if you don't have a plan, maybe you know kind of what you're doing. Maybe you've read some articles. You go there by yourself and just kind of piddle around. You're not going to get that many results. You need a plan. Your core values are your internal plan for how you're going to live your life. So as a man, you must take responsibility, not just for the external factors, but for your internal world, which means, how am I showing up in this situation? What in my life, as a reflection of my actions, makes sense for where it's at? If I keep getting into toxic relationships, if I keep getting pay cuts, if I am not like where I want to be, what through my actions actually makes sense with that? In today's world, in society, on social media, we are given a lot of excuses not to take responsibility. And it's crazy, because when you rob a man of his responsibility, you rob a man of his masculinity. Men need things to lead. They need things to take charge of. And the first thing a man leads is himself. If you don't take responsibility, you're not leading yourself. Which means, how am I showing up in this situation? Because as much as we can blame the outside world, there's always a part of us that has called that into existence. There's always a part of us that we can take responsibility for that. If our spouse is not happy with us, if we, once again, are not at the body weight that we want, if we are not getting paid what we want, if we're not in the career that we want, we need to take full-blown responsibility for that. Okay, so number 2, one of the biggest ones that we have, I'm not sure if I saw this. I can't have this on. Integrity. Integrity is like the core value of the core values. If you don't have integrity as a man, you don't do what you say you're going to do, you will feel like a failure, and then you manifest that and project that onto everybody around you. DeMarcus said integrity, great, that's fantastic. And we have so many more: self-respect, accountability, perseverance, consistency, kindness. Wow. So you guys already know a lot of these core values. So then let me ask, why are you here today? Why did you show up to this? Why did you show up to the Year of the Man Summit? Put it in the chat. I want to know. Is there something that you're struggling with? Because maybe we can work through these things as we go through this session today. Maybe we can self-reflect. Maybe we can change some lives today while we are going through this. So integrity. Maybe you have integrity to others, but you don't have integrity to yourself. If you tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym, and you don't go to the gym, or you tell yourself, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and you don't become an entrepreneur. Every day that you don't live in integrity, you start lying to yourself. And when you start lying to yourself, you lose trust in yourself. When you start losing trust in yourself, you stop believing in yourself as a leader. You stop believing in yourself as a man. You start to feel like the epitome of a failure. And when you feel like the epitome of a failure, you look around you and you start to blame other things for why you are a failure. And that's not fair to the external world, because that makes a man weak. Like, listen, I know I make a lot of content being understanding of men and considerate of men, because a lot of people don't understand men, and a lot of people don't empathize and sympathize with men. But there are, in fact, strong men and weak men. A weak man creates himself. A weak man is not created by society, because society can do what he will with a man, can do what he will with a woman, but the man and the woman chooses how they want to show up. The man and the woman chooses how they want to be. So are you choosing to show up as a strong man, or are you choosing to show up as a weak man? It takes just as much effort to create yourself as a weak man that it does to create yourself as a strong man. The effort is the same. The pain is the same. But the joy for them is different. The mindset is different. The negativity that shows up as a reflection in your life is different. Going back to the chat. I'm working on becoming more integral with myself, growing more emotionally and healthy, and finding purpose in my life. Love that. Bringing my healthy internal world to the external world, struggling with relationships, self-worth, and trust. Okay, so one of them, bringing my healthy internal world to the external world. How do you feel like the external world is not showing up as a reflection of your internal world? I want you to put that in the chat because we'll work through it. And you guys should be taking notes on everybody who wrote these things down in the chat because these are fire. Consistency, kindness, confidence, responsible, firm, inner strength, gratitude, accountability. Exactly. Accountability. I think I spelled that wrong. I hear what you were saying with the label of weak man, but I believe it's more boys and men. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. See, that's even like not a good mentality to look at. Like, why are you making excuses for it? Boys are not weak men. Like, then you're just assuming that, like, then you're just saying that little boys who are growing up in the world are like weak, right? Boys are still men. So if a boy who's growing up in the world chooses different things, it's different than a grown man choosing different things, right? So far we have responsibility, integrity, and accountability. You have to be accountable. You have to be accountable to yourself, to those around you, and you have to make choices. So this is the other one that nobody wrote. Consciousness. You have to be a conscious man. Because if you're not conscious, you will be operating out of the subconscious. And the subconscious is what happens when you blow up and you get angry and you throw a fit and then you make excuses. The subconscious is what happens when you say, well, this trauma happened to me and that's why I do this. The subconscious is what happens is no women are good in the world and all they are is cheaters and I'm just going to stay single because that's how I control my world. Consciousness means I am aware of the choices I'm making and I will choose them accordingly. Consciousness says, I have self-control. Consciousness says, even though I want to do this, I'm going to do this because I do what is right over what is easy. What makes a great man is consciousness. The next one. Work ethic. What is your work ethic like? This doesn't mean just in a job, but it means how do you show up every day? What commitments have you made to yourself every day to show up? Are you showing up exactly how you want to show up? Are you showing up in accordance to the goals that you have? I'll tell you guys a little something. The entire 2 years that I've built this empire, that I built this community, that I had, 15, 10 plus videos go ultra viral of over 1 million plus views and whatever. I was struggling in the back end. Nobody saw me struggle except very few people because I didn't want to get up every day and like make content. Some days that's the only thing that I wanted to do. But like, it was hard. It was hard to struggle and be in like a toxic relationship where I was being verbally abused and then go into a session and teach men how to be better. You have to have a work ethic. You have to have something that pulls you forward. If you don't have something that pulls you forward, life pulls you down. It's not easy to show up every day for yourself, for others, but you have to decide what you want to commit to. You have to decide that you want to do it. So what are you going to commit to? What are you doing every day that shows your work ethic? It's not just about how many hours you can work in a day for a job. It's what is the work ethic for yourself? Like Sabrina said yesterday, and like I said in the very first masterclass that I did at the beginning of April last year, the first 10 minutes of the day, how are you showing up for yourself? How are you regulating your nervous system? How are you getting in touch with the man that you want to be? I'm going to go back to some of the comments because we have more. I started following you when I started going through a separation and now divorce. My environment, surroundings can have an impact on me positively or negatively. Now I'm choosing positivity in my surroundings all the time, people, places, things. I love that because it's a choice, right? And that's the thing. And I love that you brought up separation. I love that you brought up divorce. It's freaking hard. The world is hard. The world is not going to cut you a break. The world is not going to go easy on you because the world doesn't have a concept of good or bad, hard or easy. We don't get what we deserve in this life. There's no such thing as deserving anything because bad people win all the time. Why do they win? Why do they win when we're out here trying to be good-hearted people and we're just getting shot on? They say, oh, the good men never win, or like no good deed goes unpunished. Yeah, because a lot of times good people don't have boundaries. Good people accept the shit, whereas bad people usually don't, because bad people have the mindset of, I deserve the best and I'm going to get the best and I don't care who I have to crush in order to get it. You don't have to have an entire pendulum swing of like, I'm going to just crush everybody so I get everything that I want versus I'm going to get steamrolled so I can be good. That's not how it works. But we have to like look at the other side of the coin sometimes to say, what tactics, what theories, what behavior mechanisms can I adopt from that so that I can win? So that I can be the best person that I can be. You can be a good man and still have boundaries. But guess what? Your boundaries are sometimes going to hurt other people. Because not everybody has the same perspectives and belief systems and ideals that you want. Some of us are in relationships, right? Where we want to be the good person. And if we just love them enough, we can change their mind. And if we just love them enough, then we're going to be good enough. If we just love them enough, they'll go back to the way that it was in the beginning. But we have to believe people when they tell us who they are, and we have to stop controlling people. I want you to turn your external desire to control others into an internal desire to control yourself. If somebody says they don't want you anymore, believe them. If somebody says that they're not going to participate in your relationship anymore, believe them. If a job says over and over again that they're going to give you a raise, but they haven't given you a raise, believe that. Believe that they are not going to do that. We need to start looking at facts over what our mind is creating. We are driven towards survival. So that means whatever we are used to as a foundation of treatment from the world, we're going to accept that as our baseline. And this is also a theory that I created with men called Crumbs slice cake. In any particular area in your life, you're going to have different categories that fulfill these needs. So in one area, you may have crumbs, one area you may have slice, one area you may have cake. In the area that you have cake, you've always been fulfilled in that need. You never question it. It comes easy to you. Everybody has an area of their life like that. And in some other areas, we have crumbs, where it's like we've gotten the bare minimum. Maybe we weren't loved enough. We weren't appreciated enough. We weren't respected enough. We weren't talked to enough. So then when an instance comes in where we are respected a little more or appreciated a little more, or our needs are met a little more, we see that as a slice. And we're like, holy crap, this is amazing. This is so much better than it was before. And I want to keep this. But then you have to ask yourself, well, don't I want the whole cake? You hold on to some things that are still not meeting all of your needs because you're used to getting breadcrumbs. You're used to just surviving. But if there's an internal dialogue that says, I want more, I know there's more out there, I'm capable of more, I'm capable of more, you have to be willing to do what it takes to get the cake. Are you with me? Put in the chat if you're with me. And while we're putting that in the chat, we have another question. What can I believe when there's no answer coming and trust is broken? How do I start? Can you elaborate on that a little bit for me, please? Sometimes no answer is an answer, actually. Sometimes no decision is a decision. And you have to be the one to make the decisions in your life. If you're waiting for somebody else to solve the problem, if you're waiting for somebody else to come forward, if you're waiting for something to show up for you, you are not making a decision. And that is a decision to leave your life up to the external world. You're like a ping pong ball at that point. What are you doing? You're not taking any control of anything. My girlfriend had an emotional affair, since then, emptiness. Okay. So what actions are you guys doing to rebuild trust in the relationship? And what part of you played a role in her going out and having an emotional affair? Of course, we cannot take responsibility. We're not saying it's your fault that she chose that. But were there signs beforehand? Were there things she asked you for beforehand? And if not, right? If she just did this, which usually doesn't happen, right? What part of you partnered with someone who is apt to have an emotional affair? This is what goes back to our template. This is what goes back to our subconscious. This is what goes back to childhood. Childhood may have presented us crumbs for the type of woman that we wanted, because maybe we saw our mom not really give us a lot of affection, not really give our dad a lot of affection. Maybe she was still present. Maybe she took us to all of our soccer games and showed up, but she wasn't available. So because we didn't see it as trauma, because we didn't see it as totally life-changing and hurtful, we just saw that as, that is what it is. And we were happy with that because that's all we knew. But then when we become an adult, all of our childhood trauma starts to reveal itself. All of that starts to unravel. So then we ask, what part of me feels like I need to stay in a relationship where someone is willing to emotionally abandon me and not own up to their responsibility, not own up to their standards? This isn't to say that we just leave everybody when they make a mistake, but how much of something is a mistake and how much of something is a core value to that person? How much of something are we trying to change within them, or are we trying to change within ourselves, or are we trying to fight with ourselves on before they are just showing us our own trauma? Like I literally just said, the last 2 years that I built this empire, I was in a relationship that was not serving me. Whose fault was that? That was my fault. It's still my fault. Yes, they did a lot of terrible things, but who stuck around? Who ignored the fact that they were showing me who they were? Who tried to make excuses? Who continued to show up in love even though that person didn't deserve it? Who kept inviting someone into their heart space when someone kept constantly disrespecting and rejecting? That wasn't them. Like, they begged me. They said that they would change. I gave them a chance, and I gave them a chance, and I gave them a chance. But after a while, chance after chance after chance is not a mistake. It's a behavior. It's a core value. It's who that person is. I'm not going out into the world and saying all men are narcissists and I had this experience and it was so bad and blah, 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 like men ain't shit. I mean, I've definitely had those moments, to be fair. But you can't blame the external world for something that you allowed. And this is a really good quote I heard the other day. Why would the universe give you more when you keep accepting less? Why would the universe give you more when you keep accepting less? I knew I had big dreams. I knew the type of relationship that I wanted. And instead of allowing myself to feel the immediate pain of letting this go, I let my ego say, if I just do these things, if I just give them enough time, they will do the work. But sometimes when we stay, and this can be applied to anything. I use relationships because it's what a lot of us can relate to, right? If we stay, we not only enable that behavior, but we allow the worst parts of the other person to thrive. We allow the worst parts of ourselves to thrive because we let them subconsciously say that's okay. We tell ourselves it's okay. And then what we do is we reaffirm an old behavior pattern that we were used to that says we're not worthy enough, we're not good enough, we need to work for love. And we blame it on the other person. The only way to break a pattern is to do something different. Is to say no more. Is to say I can't do this. Is to say actually this isn't what I want. And it's crazy because people say, you know, they'll say you have too high of standards. That's impossible. Okay, it's impossible to have too high of standards. You should have the highest standards you can possibly think of, but not just for another person, for yourself. When you show up in the highest standard possible for yourself, then you deserve the highest standard from someone else. If you think you're showing up in the highest standard possible for yourself, but you're accepting low treatment from someone else, you're not showing up. So at some point, we get to this place where nature is truth. And if we are in these situations that are literally killing us, that we just feel are not right, they will fall away. The truth always reveals itself. That's why you see people who are in like alcoholic relationships or abusive relationships or jobs that they freaking hate. And then all of a sudden they get fired. And then all of a sudden that person who was abusing them leaves them. And you're looking around, you're like, what? Like literally, what the fuck? You're gonna leave me? You're gonna quit on me? I'm the best. I stuck around. I stayed. I'm the one who does the work. I'm the one who's conscious. I'm the one who does all these things. I'm this type of guy. I'm this man. Can't you see that? And that is the golden moment. That is the egg, because that is the completeness of the ego and the child revealing itself. That is the wound revealing itself. Can't you see how good I am? That's the inner child. Can't you see how good I am? Can't you see how worthy I am? So then you realize the reason that you stayed was not out of love for that person. It was out of trying to get love for yourself. The reason why you stayed in that job was not because you actually wanted to do the work. It was so that you yourself could survive. And that shows up in the reflection of the world, because the universe knows when you are not reaching your potential. And a man who fails to reach his potential is a man who starts to slowly wither away and die. Because men are meant to do great things. They cannot sit idle. They cannot sit still. They cannot not be fixing something and working towards something. And this is why spirituality is a really big thing for a lot of men, because men need mentors to look up to. If a man does not look up, he looks down on himself. If a man cannot look up, he looks down on himself. So if you don't have an earthly mentor or a spiritual mentor, you're spinning around and you're lost because you're not looking up. And then you look down on yourself. I'm a failure. I'm losing control. Like none of this stuff is working out for me. I thought I was doing all the right things. Go back to the comment section here. I've chosen people in the past, people that would not commit to me, and now I'm afraid of a person that has been ready to commit and give me anything I ask for. I've not been able to let go of past experiences. Okay. I'm just not stuck anymore. I'm listening, and I'm going to show up every day for the rest of my life. So much to learn. Love that. I'm the fucking man. Anyone would be so lucky to be with me. Exactly. Everybody say it. Everybody say it to yourself. I'm the fucking man, and any woman would be so lucky to be with me. But I also don't want you to have that as your only mantra, because then you're also reflecting your manliness with any woman would be so lucky to be with me. It's not about any woman being lucky to be with you. Of course, any woman would be lucky to be with you, but why? I don't want you to assimilate your worth and value with the external. That's also the ego, because in that moment, you are subconsciously also making your partner beneath you. Do you see how that works out like that? Any woman would be lucky to be with me. You are subconsciously putting that person beneath you. And when you put someone beneath you, internally, you feel beneath yourself, because you're still trying to source your value from ego. You're still trying to source your value from the external world. And literally, that's the same person who said that they were afraid of commitment. So how can those two things be in there? You have someone who wants to be with you, but you don't want to commit. At the same time, you're like, any woman would be lucky to be with me. Those cannot live in the same world. So what about yourself? Have you not validated? Have you not checked that you are insecure with, that makes you afraid that you've made a mistake in this relationship? If you are not completely and totally aligned with your core values, if you are not completely and totally aligned with the direction that you're going, if you're not looking up and you're looking down subconsciously, you are going to question the value of the people you have invited into your life. You are going to question the value of the people you have invited into your life, because part of you feels like, I have not assessed them properly. If you don't feel like you've assessed them properly, it means you don't feel like you've assessed yourself properly. You don't trust yourself. So what about yourself do you not trust? What about actions and words are not aligning? Is this resonating? Let me know in the chat if it's resonating. I'm going to look at the comment section. Going back to that first question, everything changed after our daughter got older. She says, I ignored her. I think it was miscommunication. I'm working on myself to change my mindset. She doesn't invest. It's my fault because I am weak to the go. Okay. Well, this is good to have like honesty, right? Because now you're getting to a place where the golden egg is revealing itself. And when I say when the golden egg is revealing itself, sometimes we have to get to rock bottom to see what the hell is there, to see what our life actually is made of, what it's created with. I had somebody say to me once, don't rob someone of their rock bottom. What an awful thing to feel, right, at rock bottom. Has anyone ever been at rock bottom before? Just let me know in the chat if anyone's ever felt like they were at rock bottom. Like everything was just not going right, not feeling good. Let me know in the chat. Okay, got one person, yeah, here now. Okay, yes. Very close in the last few years. Yeah, and when we're at rock bottom, we feel like the world is over. We feel like everything is over, everything is done. I know, because I've been there many times. And we don't want to be there so bad. We desperately search for the right life raft that will save us. We'll text, like we get to a point of desperation, we'll text exes, we'll start affairs, we'll start drinking. We will do anything to escape the rock bottom. But if we can accept, dude, I'm at rock bottom. Rock bottom is a call to let go of control. Rock bottom is a call to start the grieving process of your old self and start building up a new self. Rock bottom is a do-over. Rock bottom is the do-over that you've been praying for. A lot of you have been praying for so many things in your life to be different. And you've been trying and trying and trying and trying and swimming upstream and struggling. Rock bottom is what happens when your body finally fatigues enough where you can't swim upstream anymore and you have to go with the flow. It's not always pretty. It's definitely not easy, but it's not the end. It's the start. Like Les Brown says, make sure when you hit rock bottom, you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. If you can look up, you can get up. Rock bottom is not the end. Rock bottom is the beginning. It's the beautiful place that we get to, where we get to say, okay, I'm here now. What can I do moving forward? So when it goes back to that question, where it was like, okay, now we've communicated, all these years have passed by, and she said I wasn't paying attention to her, right? This becomes the place that we look at where we actually can get really raw. We can say, listen, I know things haven't been good. Tell me where I fucked up, and I'll tell you where you fucked up. And now we can actually get to this place of healing, because neither one of us is hiding behind these old behaviors, because that's exactly what happens. We think that the other person needs XYZ from us, and they actually need D and E from us. So we live out our whole life under this certain false pretenses, these behaviors that we think are fulfilling everybody's needs, and then we abandon our authentic self, when really that person didn't need any of that. They needed you to show up in your glory, and we needed them to show up in their glory, because they also self-abandoned so they could show up for you. And then truth comes out and it collides. So sometimes the greatest mistakes, the biggest downfalls, can be our greatest awakenings. If you are at rock bottom right now, you are at the time of your awakening. Yeah, Chris said my last rock bottom was the biggest blessing of my life. I'm going to read some of these. My commitment is priority, and nothing will distract me from supporting and cherishing her whenever she needs me, and never smother her with my own neediness. Perfect. 18 months ago, I hit my rock bottom for sure, but now I'm on the up and up. Amazing. Because there's nowhere else to go but up, right? And this isn't about toxic positivity. This is about the facts. And we need to start downloading the facts if we want to move forward in life. Because as much as we say women are emotional, men are also emotional, right? It's not like you're just void of emotion. You have emotion. You have things that are important to you. And men, because men and women are treated differently in childhood by their parents. This is a scientific study that's been done. They don't need exactly the same treatment, but they are definitely not nurtured as much as they should be. And men are often given responsibility that they shouldn't have as children, where they need to grow up very fast. And sometimes they take the role of the father. They take on more responsibility as the provider and the caregiver. And they never knew what it was like to have someone meet their needs. So they're constantly trying to meet their own needs through meeting someone else's needs. Does that make sense? If I do XYZ for mom, she'll feed me today. That's what our little childhood brain thinks. So then it goes, okay, if I do XYZ for my wife, she'll have sex with me today. Like, this is what we do. It's a subconscious manipulation to get our needs met. So instead of subconsciously trying to get our needs met, we just need to ask for our needs to be met and see if that person can show up. And this is the hard part, because often when we've built an entire life out of these behaviors and trauma patterns, these people cannot meet the needs that are required over here. So what we're trying to do is desperately change ourselves while keeping everything that we have. And it doesn't work like that. You cannot hold on to every behavior, every person, every environment that you created in survival mode if you want to get to the next level. You have to be willing to say goodbye in order to give that person either space to rise up with you, or to let them go to find someone who's on their level. And that might be their rock bottom. Do not rob them of that. But if you know you're going somewhere that's better for you, don't deny that for yourself, because it is ultimately what's better for everybody else around you. When you start showing up in truth and authenticity and power and strength, how is that a negative for anyone? But the thing is, you feel lonely over here. You feel depressed. You feel like a failure, because everything that you worked hard for before is gone. It's gone. You're grieving. But let that be the death that you need in order to be rebirthed. At different points in my life, I've had, and this is also the thing too, I've gone over with my men's group. We created an identity over here. If our whole lives we have been like a career man and a dad and a husband and XYZ, and now we're going through a divorce where we no longer have the kids, and all of a sudden we got fired, and We're no longer a husband and we've kind of lost all of our friends because that was all over here in the friend group. Now all of a sudden, it's not just the things that we're losing, but it feels like ourselves that we're losing, and we feel like we're freaking dying. And that's the thing, this person is dying. And you have to go through the ritual process of allowing yourself to die so that you can be reborn into the new you. Do not continue attaching your identity into these external factors, because then you will feel a death and a really, really hard time letting go of anything that no longer serves you every time you need to up level, because every single time you need to up level, you need to let something go. And like I said, I've gone through this many, many times in my life where I started to change my mindset. And like Sabrina said yesterday, mindset is everything. How you perceive yourself in the world and how you perceive that the world perceives you is the most important thing, what you expect from the world. People talk about affirmations, they talk about, manifestation. You are affirming something every single day, whether you like it or not. Because there's always a dialogue going through your head. So if there's always a dialogue going through your head, why not make it something that benefits you? Why not make it something that is going to help your future self? The only way to ensure that we're happy forever, that we're in a committed relationship forever, is if we keep showing up happy and committed. We don't just say, oh, this person's doing this today, so I'm not committed to them today, or I'm not happy today. No, we say, what am I doing for myself today that can ensure that I am happy and committed today? Every single day, I show up more and more committed to my partner. Every single day, I'm more and more in love with my partner. Every single day, I'm more committed to my goals, to my reality, to my perception. Every single day, I'm committing that to myself. If they no longer align with that, okay, then I know that they no longer align with the place that I'm going. And that means I'm getting ready to up level. We have to be willing to let that go and not all of a sudden tag our identity to this person. That's what traps us. That's what prevents us from that growth. Are you with me? Put in the chat if you're with me, and I'm going to read some of the comments of the new comments that came in. My rock bottom was last year, July. Then I joined your community. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that, Rob, that you joined the community, that it led you there. Changing perception and perspective was major for me. Yes, with you. Love that. Okay, so actually, I want to hear any questions that are coming up for you guys. If you have any questions or realizations or things that you're still stuck on, put them in the chat so that we can go over it. Because what I had planned, we kind of changed directions on. Because you guys already know. You already know what it takes to be a great man. So what aren't you doing? Where do you feel like you need to grow? I understand everything. I'm just too mentally weak. Okay. If you feel you're not too mentally weak, first of all, don't ever put that on yourself. If you feel too mentally weak, acknowledge that. You can acknowledge that, right? If you can say, I feel too mentally weak, so I'm going to do X, Y, Z because it's part of my old behavior pattern, because that's what I need to survive right now, then that's okay. We have to start somewhere. But then what little things are we going to start plugging and playing into our life to change it? This is where, you have to put into action the things you need to change your life. So if you feel too mentally weak, like you can't just say, like, okay, I'm going cold turkey. I'm not going to do this bad habit anymore. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to not talk to this person. It's hard to change our entire lives because we have external reminders, right? Our environment does have an impact. It does have an impact. The mind is not necessarily stronger than the environment. So we have to change the environment at least little by little. So if you feel mentally weak, okay, these are some things. I'm going to flip this around. We're going to walk through this. Actionable things you can use to change your life when you feel too mentally weak. You have to change your environment. What does your environment look like? Because chances are, if you feel too mentally weak, your environment is a reflection of something that keeps you in weakness, right? People around you aren't eating healthy. People around you don't have big goals. You're listening to sad music when you're sad. You're watching sad movies. You're not doing the habits that you know you should be. So what about your environment can you change? At different points in my life, when I've been in a very down place, what I would do is I would binge watch YouTube videos that were about great people, motivational things. Dude, you have to tap into your resources. There's so many resources. Go watch Tony Robbins. Go watch Les Brown. Like, watch them on repeat, because even if you don't feel it, you've started to take action by changing the environment. I'm going to write these things down for you guys. So change your environment to have a positive influence in your digital world and in your physical world. So who are the people you're surrounding yourself by? Like Rob said in the comments, last year he was at his rock bottom and then he joined the men's group. The men's group was a way for him to every Sunday, if he couldn't do anything, he showed up every single freaking Sunday and was supported by me, other men, and other coaches who came in there to teach men how to do something different. He invested in himself. He made that choice from rock bottom. And now Rob's in a completely different place. See, Rob said he watched Tony Robbins 2 weeks ago. Exactly. You have to. We have another comment in here. I have a great foundation. I know the core values that I want to live out and the direction I want to take my life. The part I'm trying to change is the moments of self-doubt and want to build up the confidence in myself. I am just trying to seek out ways to build that confidence in myself. Confidence can only be built upon factual evidence. Confidence is not built by some mind trick. Alex Hormozy, and you'll hear me reference a lot of other coaches because I am created from the content that I consume. I am created from like all of the facts that I've downloaded. Alex Hormozy says, you can't create success, you can't create confidence, you can't create all these things just from your mind. It has to be followed by action and fact. How can you make confidence so undeniably like provable in your life? So there has got to be a time in your life when you did feel confident. Am I right? Tell me there's not a time in your life when you did feel confident. You have to tap into what you know, what you've already done. Tap into the time when you already did feel confident. Okay, I felt confident during this time. Why did I feel confident? What did I do? What skill set do I have that makes me feel really good? Okay, I'm confident in fixing cars. I know I can do that because I don't even have to like listen to the car for 30 seconds and I know what's wrong with it. I'm confident in this. Okay. How long did it take me to study and learn cars? How long did it take me to understand something so well that I felt confident in it? Some of these things take practice, but you will never escape self-doubt when you are continuing to up level. It's not the self-doubt that you need to eliminate. It's just the perseverance through it. It's just the perseverance of knowing that confidence takes time. Success takes time because you have to build new neural pathways. Self-doubt is not the problem. You should be full of self-doubt at different periods of your life because that means you're growing. If you're only surrounding yourself with a comfort level where everything in your life you're confident in, you're probably not pushing yourself, and that will ultimately lead to your downfall. Exactly. Progress is a process. So if you know your core, like you can't know your core values and you can't know all these things and then still not be doing the things that you know you need to do. Because then you're just living life in denial. So what is the one area of your life where you don't have confidence? And what can you do to change that? Like, I didn't have confidence in a lot of things in my life. I'll tell you a random fact. Like, I grew up riding bikes with my sister. My older sister, 7 years older. And so as a little kid, my legs became huge. And I was so freaking self-conscious about this. I didn't even wear shorts to the gym until like 2 years ago. And I didn't work out my legs because I was like, dude, they're big enough already. And once I said, okay, first of all, I'm really unconfident about this. And instead of just hiding behind that insecurity, What can I do to actually change it? Because hating it is not the solution. I've been doing that my whole life. So first of all, you have to change what you hate into something that you can accept and improve upon. There's things that all of us don't like about ourselves that we wish we could change, that we're not confident in. Speaking, talking to women, the bedroom, making money, asking for a raise, conflict resolution. The only way to get good at that thing is to practice that thing. You can start off practicing that thing in a safe environment, but it's repetition, repetition, repetition. Have self-compassion for yourself as you start to work on things. But I can guarantee you, if you don't ever work on it, you're never going to be good at it. And then all you're doing, and here's the thing, whatever thing that you're not doing, in some way, not doing it is benefiting you. In some way, not doing it is benefiting you, to the point where it's just not painful enough for you to move forward. Because people don't run towards pleasure, they run away from pain. So if you're telling me you know all these things and it's just the confidence, I say bullshit. There's no such thing, because if you wanted something enough, or you wanted to run away from something enough, it didn't matter if you had confidence or not, you would have no choice. And that's what the universe will do to you. It will take away everything from you so that you do not have a choice, because then what? You're surviving. But don't let it get to the point where you always just need to survive to get to the next level. Get to a point where you choose to get to the next level voluntarily, and then you don't have to lose everything in your life. You let it flow away. You let it go. You're choosing to allow things to be the way that you want. I'm reading some of these comments. Knowing is not doing, doing is doing. Exactly, exactly. Knowing is not doing, doing is doing. And Alex Ramosi, I love him so much because a lot of our values align. It's like when you wake up in the morning, a lot of people say you have to journal and meditate or do ice baths or do red light therapy. And then like your whole morning is consumed with these daily routines. And then you don't feel good if you don't do this daily routine. Some people are like that. But the thing is, after that routine, where are you at? Are you actually doing the thing? And what if instead of like doing the routine, you just woke up and worked on yourself, worked on the thing you weren't confident on? What if you woke up and just like said a speech to yourself? It sounds ridiculous, but sometimes you have to do ridiculous things to get ridiculous results. Don't you want ridiculous results? And I'm going to read the comments, but I have to say this thought first. There's this new content creator that I've been following. His name is Russell, and he's like a sharp dressed dude, and he talks out of his like bajillion-dollar mansion in California. I don't know. And he's been saying, women, he's like, yeah, I hear all the time, like from men, women just want men for their money. They don't want to spend time with them. They just want them to pay for anything. And he goes, well, no shit. He's like, if you are a man who's not a provider, why would anyone want to spend time with you? It's like real shit. Like there's different people who have different opinions and everything, but here's the thing. You as a man should not be looking for external reasons as to why you're weak and why you're a failure, because why would you want to be a mid-tier man anyway? You should want and desire to be a top-tier man. You may not be a top-tier man in everything. You're not going to be an Ironman champion and Mr. Olympia and the richest man in the world, but you can be a top-tier man in how you operate every day. And you can do that despite what the external world is showing you. If you can't beat them, you don't necessarily have to join them, but how can you differentiate yourself? How can you be the kindest man? How can you operate out of the most integrity? How can you operate out of the most values? You shouldn't want to be a man who doesn't make the most money he can possibly make. Not that out of all the world, you're not in competition with other men, you're in competition with yourself. You shouldn't want to be a mid-tier man for yourself and then worry about women who want a man who's 6 foot tall with 6 figures and all this other crap. Honestly, that's average. A lot of people make 6 figures now. Why? Because inflation. Inflation is going up. $1 million isn't what it was 10 years ago. You should want to be successful, not out of spite, not just because the world is expecting you to. You should want to be successful because you are a man. Get out there and get it. Like, weakness is what happens to a man when he allows others to change who he is, to allow him to feel shit about himself because some random girl on the internet said he needed to make 6 figures and now he hates women. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. Or he's seen so many women cheat and now he's afraid that everyone was a cheater. That's crazy. That's a reflection of you and your internal trust in the world. If somebody cheats on you, that's a reflection of them. And then you have to say, okay, what signs did I miss? Because I'm not accepting that next time. And then you move on. That's not a reflection of the type of man that you are. Or if somebody leaves you because you didn't make enough money, okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to make more money because no one should ever have that as an excuse if I'm being a provider and I'm being a protector or whatever I'm being. And I shouldn't look for less. But that's a reflection of them and their fears and their insecurities. And maybe they just didn't feel provided for in other ways. Was it really the money? Was it really the money? And then what part of me was attracting someone who really just wanted money? And not enough men make enough money for everybody to think that everyone's after them for their money. That's crazy. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's just not the truth. Women don't really care about that. Women want to be taken care of. And taken care of isn't just about being provided for monetarily. It's being taken care of emotionally, mentally, being held when she's in her drama. Men deserve that too, but in different ways. And the way that a man feels, this is what I've learned after 4 years of working with men. The way that a man feels the most cherished, most nourished, most respected is seeing his partner in her ultimate joy. Because that's what appreciation feels like to a man. Because I've been in places where I've said, I appreciate you so much, I respect you so much, blah, 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 blah. And I go, how do you feel like I don't appreciate you? But it's because I wasn't happy. Because I still wanted them to do shit differently because they weren't living up to my expectations and they could feel energetically my disappointment in them. There was nothing I could say or do that would actually make them feel like I appreciate them because I wasn't in my essence. And if you're not in your essence as a man, a woman will feel that. She will feel if you're just doing things to make her happy. She will feel if you're just doing things to get by. She will feel if you're not living up to your potential, and she'll challenge you on it. And like, let's cut out men and women, like just the universe in general. The universe in general is going to see when you're not living up to your potential, and it takes things away that you identified with so that you can start looking in. So I know I'm going on a tangent. We're actually supposed to go to VIP. But I'm going to read the last of these comments. And then we're going to go to VIP, okay, guys? So I think sometimes we have to feel the pain of what we are avoiding to the point where we can no longer avoid it. Exactly. Currently in the process of a big death and rebirth. I've been pulled in different directions by different parts of me. Now I'm currently working with the men's coach 101 on the principles of abundance, inner child work, EFT, and IFS. That's great. That's a lot of things to work on. I've got group therapy, another round of IFS coming up for 6 weeks. And my big challenge is my environment, moved back in with my parents. You know, after the sister was struggling last year, so you could be close for support, but now it's a reflection of my mood swings daily when I'm around it. My question is, what's the next step to the next level? Well, first of all, you're going through a lot of changes. And at certain points, we don't need to necessarily concern ourselves with what the next steps of the next level are, because the next steps will reveal themselves through the work. You don't have to be so future focused all the time. Focus on the current moment, on the present of what you're working on, and the next steps will reveal themselves as you go through it. If you're not present, you're going to miss out on all the signs. You're not even going to do the work. To be honest, if you're not in the moment and you're reading all these books, you're having all these coaches, and you're just thinking, what's next, what's next, what's next? You're bypassing all the actual work that you need to do. There's a lot of men who spend a lot of time invested in the courses and the content and the coaching, but they're just intellectualizing everything. So now you can understand what's wrong with you. You can understand what you need to do to move forward, but you're stuck and you haven't moved forward and your life is the same. Why? Because you keep thinking about what's next, or what class can I do next? What course can I do next? Stop thinking about what's next. Stop filling your brain with other people's opinions and directions, and start to choose some directions for yourself. When you start to choose the directions for yourself, that's when you start making moves. Okay, guys, so if there's one thing that I want you to take away, a few things that I want you to take away from this, is do the work that needs to be done now. Don't worry about the work that needs to be done in the future, because the future work is going to change depending on the work you get done now. You're here, you're in this moment. Do not look back, do not look forward, look right here, right now. What are the facts? How am I treating my partner? How are they treating me? How am I showing up at work? How am I showing up every day? Do I smile at people on the street? Do I hunch my shoulders? Do I like look around me and actually acknowledge where I am? And what is the work that I need to do now to make me feel good, to make me feel strong, to make me feel powerful, to make me feel like a man, to get me to the next step? And in that shift, in the doing, that is what gives you the confidence. That is what gives you the strength. That is what gives you the ability to see what's next. Because every single time you do something, it takes off a layer of the red glasses. It takes off a layer of the old behavior patterns. So you cannot possibly see, you cannot possibly predict, you cannot possibly imagine what you need to do next when you're here. Because this person here does not have the correct mindset of the person over here. So you're trying to predict how your best self would act and operate and what they need to do next when you're still over here and you're not best self. Allow your best self to unfold in the doing of the now, and they will tell you in the action. Okay, guys, so I know that was a lot. Like I said before, if you want a copy of this recording and of all the other coaches, you can always purchase a recording or purchase VIP. We're going to go into the VIP room right now. If you have the VIP link, we go in there, and then at 10:30, we come back, we have a panel discussion with 3 other content creators. I'm going to rapid fire questions at them where they're going to answer. So I will see you guys all at 10:30, except for the VIP, where we're going to go into that room right now. Okay, guys, see you soon.